Hi, I'm here to tell you about a bold new project. It's led by Julie Zhang and it's called NeurAct. Let me start with a question. What are we? People. What does that mean? It means we each have unique memories, thought patterns, personalities, perspectives on the world, emotions. What's the substrate for that? It's our brains. Different parts of the brains contribute different amounts to who we are. The neocortex, probably the greatest amount. Some of you may know that I work on replacing the neocortex as we age without loss of personality and self-identity. But it's not the only part of the brain that contributes to who we are. There's another part called the anterior cingulate cortex. And this is the project that Julie is spearheading in trying to preserve that part of the brain for us as we age. The anterior cingulate cortex is the gateway between our emotions and our cognition. And without it, we're not complete. And so Julie has taken it upon herself to lead this project with all the support from my group that works on neocortical tissue replacement, following the same workflow as we do, and to achieve a replacement anterior cingulate cortex as part of NeurAct. And this is interesting in many ways. One, because, of course, like every other part of the brain, the anterior cingulate cortex ages and doesn't function as it should. And that's ultimately what Julie wants to attain with NeurAct, is be able to preserve that by replacing that tissue over time as we get old, to keep it young. There are also very interesting intermediate applications for tissue replacement or for designing a replacement anterior cingulate cortex. For one, in severe cases of psychiatric diseases like obsessive compulsive disorder, the anterior cingulate cortex is actually removed in a process called a cingulotomy, so that the patient no longer has these obsessive drives that can push them to commit suicide in many cases. The problem is, though, that simply removing the anterior cingulate cortex leads to opposite, sometimes, behaviors of complete lack of attachment and or disinhibition. And so there's a need in those cases to replace the anterior cingulate cortex with new anterior cingulate cortex. So that's an intermediate application before reaching, before trying to reverse aging of the anterior cingulate cortex. Because the anterior cingulate cortex is the sort of seat of many psychiatric diseases, not just OCD, but others as well, it's a prime target for big pharma companies for drug testing, to test their drugs to see how the neurons in the anterior cingulate cortex respond to them. It's a huge market. Psychiatric drugs are possibly one of the biggest drug markets in the world. And so having a better ex vivo model that doesn't require FDA approval, which Julie can achieve with NeurAct within the next year or two, should give us intermediate commercialization potential. And so that's also very attractive in the short term. Current models of neural tissue for drug testing are pretty bad. They're irreproducible. They're very variable. So having a reproducible, structured tissue that resembles the real thing would have a lot of value in the growing market of 3D ex vivo tissues for disease modeling and drug testing. So in sum, I guess I would say, this is a very exciting opportunity, and I look forward to seeing how it progresses. Thanks.